The highest recorded average diesel price in the history of the US used to be $4.70 per gallon in 2008. Well, not anymore, because that record was beaten just last month, with the new record high being set at $5.10 per gallon. With the average semi-truck having a 300-gallon fuel capacity, truckers can now expect to pay around $1,500 every time they fill up. Hey everyone, welcome back to Guild 22. I'm Gurpreet, and in today's video, I'll explain why we're seeing record high diesel prices, how it will affect the trucking industry, and when we can expect these insane prices to drop down to normal levels. Real quick before we get into the video, take a quick second to scroll down, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you're always ahead of your competition. Alright, so as I just mentioned, diesel prices have jumped to record highs in the last month and are up more than $1 per gallon compared to the month before. So why is this happening? And is it all because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict? Well, the short answer is kind of. The main problem that is driving up diesel prices right now is supply shortage and increased demand. If you were paying attention in your high school econ class, you will remember how supply and demand determine price, pretty basic stuff. And what we're seeing right now with diesel is not only a shortage of supply, but also a crazy high demand for it as well. Both of these factors combined is what's leading to record high diesel prices. On the supply side, the Russia-Ukraine conflict definitely led to a shortage of diesel all around the globe, because for those of you that don't know, Russia is one of the leading exporters of crude oil, which is obviously used to make gas and diesel. Because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the US, along with 30 other countries, put a ton of sanctions on Russia to basically destroy its financial system, which includes banning the import of its biggest export, which is of course crude oil. Now, these sanctions have been working. The ruble, which is what Russia uses as its currency, is now worth less than a penny. However, this also means that the US and the 30 other countries that, put sanctions on Russian oil, they need to find someone else to buy their oil from. And who do we know that is famous for having a lot of oil? Yep, Saudi Arabia. So here's the thing. Saudi Arabia has enough refineries in their country to dramatically decrease the oil and diesel shortage globally and make a huge amount of money in the process, but they're not going to do that. Instead, Saudi Arabia and its oil-rich allies in OPEC got together and basically agreed not to increase the production of crude oil so they can continue to make silly money off of the rest of the world, and more importantly, have a lot more control and leverage over these bigger countries like Germany, US, France, whatever. The countries in OPEC are basically dangling barrels of crude oil over the entire globe and making them do whatever they want. Obviously, it's a lot more complicated than that, but that kind of explains the supply shortage that we're facing right now of diesel. But if shortage was the only problem, we would not be seeing record high diesel prices. Biden has announced plans to release 1 million barrels of oil every single day for 180 days from the US oil reserve, but that's kind of like putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound. It's not going to decrease prices of diesel significantly, and the reason for that is increasing demand. During the pandemic, the demand for gas dropped by 13%, obviously because no one was going anywhere and everything was shut down, whereas the demand for diesel dropped by 8%. However, as the shutdown started to lift across the globe, economic activity boomed and demand started to rise from everyday consumers dramatically. Shippers and manufacturers that were trying to keep up with this demand, they also started to ramp up production, and this increase in production obviously also led to an increase of oil and diesel demand that is still growing today. Now here's the thing. If you're watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, well, diesel prices, they don't really concern me, they're not really going to affect me. Well, that's not really true, because they're going to affect literally everyone in the US, even if they don't, necessarily buy or use diesel. Here's why. The transportation and logistics industry is the backbone of not only the US economy, but the global economy. When fuel prices rise, trucking companies all around the globe will increase the cost of their services through the use of fuel surcharges. Now, the shipper doesn't want to get stuck paying higher costs for transportation and freight, so they're going to take those higher transportation costs and pass it on to retailers by charging them more for the same product. And now obviously the retailer doesn't want to get stuck with these higher product costs either, so they'll mark up their prices to cover the increase in costs and charge Joe from Minnesota more to buy their product. And obviously, Joe from Minnesota doesn't want to pay more money for the same product that they've always been buying, but Joe from Minnesota can't do anything about it. This was just my fun little way of explaining inflation. So whether you care about diesel prices or not, you will eventually get hit with the after effects in the form of inflation. This also explains why the average inflation rate in the US has been increasing every single month since September of last year and has hit almost 8%, which is crazy to think about. Anyways, I hope that kind of, explains why diesel prices are so high and how it affects more than just the trucking industry. If you're a smaller trucking company and you're still working off the load board, please make sure you're calculating your fuel surcharge. Even though technically speaking, there is no fuel surcharge in the spot market, you still need to know your baseline fuel cost because you'll really get screwed over by some brokers. You might be thinking to yourself, well, I used to run this route for $3.50 per mile, but now this broker is offering me $3.85 per mile. That's great. I'll take it. When in reality, you're actually making much, much, much less than that because you failed to account for increase in fuel costs and inflation. If you want me to make a video explaining how to calculate fuel surcharges and how I use it to negotiate load rates, let me know by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on post notifications. So yeah, with that being said, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.